software, you guys should all have at least the top 5 or at least the top 4 softwares on your computer. These are kind of the workhorse softwares. Blue Sky Plan, that's what we're going to dive in today, and they're really the best surgical guide design software out there. There's a couple others, but these guys really own the market. They figured out how to do really simple surgical guides. It's free to use. It's a free software, and then you can pay specifically for the export. So free to use, free to design, but if you want to export a surgical guide out, you got to buy that purchase. But I mean, I think it's an investment that's well worth it. I think you pay $20, $18, depending on the volume of exports that you buy per surgical guide. And then, we're charging $250, $350 for a surgical guide. And so pretty much almost every implant I'm doing now is guided, because it's become a question of why not for me, because I mean, once you do enough of these, you can turn them out really fast. I'm even able to turn them out same day. Patients come in, scan them, numb them up, go design it, print. You print them super fast on the Pro, and you can even use them for same day surgical guides. So in my hands, it's like it's almost like I'm 3-dimensionally putting an implant in a patient's jaw in the perfect position. Because we've all put implants in, and sometimes you're like, oh, sweet, let me take a picture of that, put it on the internet, and it's like, yeah, I did really good. And then other times you're like, oh, we'll just hide that one, And, that's just real life, and it's just human error, and our hands are just susceptible to that. But I'll tell you that, like, with the guides, I mean, if you follow the principles and, some of the key aspects, I mean, really, when you're done with the surgery, it should be super, super fast and right where you planned it. I mean, you've seen these implants. I mean, like, if things go according to plan and you understand some of the important principles, I mean, it really is going to end up where you put it on the computer. So it's almost like you're doing the surgery before the patient ever even walked in the door. Like, stress-free on your computer, you're chilling, you're like moving an implant, you're like, where would be the best position? And that's where it'll end up. So for me, it was originally, no, who needs guided? To, yeah, sometimes guided, but I sometimes freehand. And now it's almost like, why not do guided? You can bill for it. You can make sure the implant's perfectly in the right spot. It's quick, it's easy, and it's fun.
What do you think too? I mean, I've found myself just talking to the patients and say, we can guide it. We can put it in the exact right place.
Yes.
We can avoid any vital structures, nerves. We can put as big of an implant in there as we can.
Yeah.
So you have to sell what you're doing. You have to build value in the process.
Yeah.
So when they see the surgical guide and the cone beam, they understand what you're doing and why.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You have to build that.
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then you realize you place the other 4 implants in their head.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
When when you download or you buy your exports, you buy it per computer. So you want one computer in your office, most just one, where you buy, and then they reside on that computer. So you can't do it from home. You'd have to buy some at your home computer, some at your office computer, because it's per IP address or whatever, right?
It is, yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things where they don't let you, it's not tied to a cloud login. It's tied onto that machine. And so you're kind of locked into that computer. So sometimes, when I'm doing cases at home, sometimes I'll just wait to actually do the export until I get to work, because the file can be moved back and forth, but the actual export needs to come from the computer that it has the exports that it was purchased on. So generally best to have one computer that's just tied to those exports. And you usually buy them in I like to buy them in 12. You buy 10, you get 2 free. And so, that's kind of the number that works for us.
You should just do that, right? I mean, you'll use them eventually.
The more you buy, the cheaper. Yeah, it's like a package. The more you buy, the cheaper each one is. But you save only $1 or $2. So I just kind of feel, hey, 10 plus 2 is a good number. I think it's $230 for 10 plus 2. So you're getting 12 for $230. So, it's a little under $20 in export. And that just, that makes sense. You could buy a little more, but we can't buy them and share them because they're tied to the computer specifically. So if you bought a ton, you'd get them down to like $15, but not a big deal. D3 tool, you guys have, we dabbled with that last time. Splints, we've been having a lot of success with the Key Splint Soft. It's fun to do, but I think the surgical guides is where you guys are really going to have a lot of fun. Mesh mixer, that's kind of don't want to say a DIY software, but it's a software that eventually you guys will get to the point where you're like, hey, I need to do a little extra advanced step or an advanced feature or something creative in the whole digital process. And Mesh Mixer is kind of like that freeform tool. It's a free software that lets you just freely, creatively edit these digital files. And so sometimes you're just going to need to do something little like that, and Mesh Mixer will be on there. For simple surgical guides, like the stuff we're going to talk about today, you don't need to do anything with Mesh Mixer. That'll be coming down the road. We'll spend more time in Mesh Mixer just talking about some of the more advanced features. Rayware, that's the printing software. You guys have all been using that. It's pretty intuitive. There's a couple cool little features on there, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Bellis 3D, that's the face scanning app on the iPhone. I think Android has it too. If you guys get to the point where you want to do face scans for like any dentures, hybrids, digital wax ups, the face scan is pretty cool. It's not needed, but you can put teeth and bone and skin on a digital patient, and turn the face transparent and look at midlines and occlusal planes, and it's kind of cool to be able to do that. Plus, patients think it's really cool too.
It just merges over into Blue Sky.
Yeah, you can bring it into Blue Sky. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so you can take a scan, get a file, and then bring it into Blue Sky, and you can stitch it with all your other data that you have and just compose like a full digital patient. That's really pretty cool. And if you're gonna take scans, take them outside, because I found that the natural light, makes the scan like way better. So I always bring my patients outside. So when we're doing these hybrid cases, we're getting portrait photos, an iTero scan, a cone beam, and then the last thing I do before they leave is I walk them outside and I do a face scan, and then they can go home. And so just kind of that whole data acquisition process is cool, and you can digitally build the patient. ExoCAD is that's the big software. It's like 10 grand for that thing. That's what the labs use to do everything. It's expensive and it's pretty advanced, and it's not really something that's needed. It's definitely got more advanced features on there, but that's kind of what your labs are using to do some cool stuff.